Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of He's Worth the Wait podcast. I am your host, Sharon Tillman. How y'all doing today? Thank you guys so much for tuning in with me on another episode. I think this is like episode 4 that I'll actually be dropping. So I came on TikTok today and I talked a little bit about it. I wasn't going to drop this particular episode. In fact, this is like an impromptu kind of episode tonight. So I remember like getting some questions about infidelity and some things of that nature. And so I remember them saying like, Sharon, can you come on and can you kind of talk about infidelity? Can you kind of talk about where we are with infidelity? Like, where do we stand? How do we maneuver? How do we get past it? How do we do all of these things? And then we talked about unforgiveness and how unforgiveness comes into play, and how do you really forgive in infidelity? How do you really forgive and get back to that place of solitude with your partner? And then giving them not allowing them to just really control the narrative, or infidelity, should I say, to control the narrative of where the relationship goes from there. So I was like, hey, listen, I can talk about this. Listen, I am a firm believer that I can talk about anything that God gives me permission to talk about, but I can also talk about things that He's healed me from, because I know that in my healing process, in my healing journey, that God didn't take me through things just because He wanted to take me through things. Like, things that I went through were literally attached to my purpose. It was attached to who God is calling me to be. And so I'm here to talk about it, and I'm here to share. So I want to talk about infidelity. So that is what we're naming this podcast tonight. We're going to talk about infidelity. Now, I know that infidelity is something that happens to a lot of people. It's kind of unfortunate. But a lot of times we can not necessarily expect, because I never want people to go around expecting infidelity to happen, expecting infidelity to, take a place in your relationship. Not at all. Not at all. Let's not expect that, because that is not of the norm. Okay. We're normalizing things that should be not normalized. Like, we're not going to put normalization on that. I don't know if I just made that word up, but we are not going to put normalization on infidelity, because it is not norm. There are men out there who can be with one person and they cannot do anything that they're not supposed to do outside of their marriage, and so we salute you for that. So we're not going to normalize that and say that we expect that, but it's unfortunate that it happens in a lot of relationships. It definitely comes into more relationships than we would like to give credit, more relationships than we would like to count, and it is a barrier for a lot of people. And I know that the first thing that happens in infidelity, the first thing that happens is a self-blame. Like, a lot of times when you're going through infidelity, the first person that you blame is yourself. Like, okay, what could I have done differently? What did I do? What didn't I do? How could I have changed this particular situation? But can I just encourage you today? Like, can I just encourage you to know that infidelity is not about you? It's not about you at all. When people step outside of their relationship, when people cheat and things of that nature, it's not always a direct reflection of you. A lot of times it's a direct reflection of them and what they have going on. And I always say how they really feel about themselves, because they're not at a place where they can communicate and talk about whatever it is. And don't get me wrong, relationships can get tough. But the tougher the relationships are, that's where you have to have a partner of communication. You've got to have, and I'm always talking about that purpose partner, because I believe that there is a purpose partner out there for everybody. But just knowing how to communicate with your spouse, knowing how to communicate with your partner is important. So before it gets to that place of where you have, stepped out, whether it's cheating mentally, physically, and emotionally, before that takes place, before any of those take place, You definitely want to be able to have someone that you can communicate with, someone that you can talk to, someone that you can be like, hey, listen, this is where I am. This is what I'm feeling. Let's communicate. Let's talk about this. It definitely says a lot about the person, right? So when I'm thinking about infidelity and I'm thinking about, don't get me wrong, women cheat too, but typically it's men, right? So typically we have men who step out, and their reasonings for stepping out sometimes are always a reflection of you instead of it ever being a reflection of them. I can remember situations where I'm like, what happened? What was this? What was the need for this? Why did it have to go to this place? Like, explain that to me. And I can remember just being in that place and they're like, well, you didn't do this or you didn't do that. And it's already hard for you. Because like I said before, self-blame is the very first blame when it comes to infidelity. Like, we automatically blame ourselves. What can I have done differently? What could I have changed? What am I not good enough? And it's unfortunate that we feel that way about ourselves a lot of times when we go through that, because infidelity takes a part of us. Like, it takes a part of us. It takes a piece of us out, and we're feeling like we're not enough. We're feeling less than. We're feeling like even though we know that we deserved better than that. Because listen, I don't care what you're going through. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care how tough it gets, guys. Come on. I don't care how tough a situation may get. Can I just tell you that there are so many other ways than stepping out? There's so many other ways. And we as women, we as a people, not just as women, because men get cheated on too, and it's unfortunate. But we as a people, we've got to know our worth enough to know, hey, listen, I deserve better. And we have to stop self-reflecting every time it happens. And we've got to start calling it what it is, right? So we'll get there, because I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we'll get there. So like I said, we're always self-blaming. How could I have changed the situation? And a lot of times we sit in that, right? So we sit in that place. We sit in that moment of what we feel. And we're emotional. We're very emotional. We're very hurt. We're very angry. We've got all these feelings that we're feeling in this moment. And all we want to do is feel better. All we want to do is feel wanted. All we want to do is feel like, because we didn't deserve it. So all we want to do is be able to move on from it. Right. So I'm trying to, it's been a minute, but I'm trying to take myself back to that place, because I know what it felt like. And I can remember. And so I'm super transparent. Y'all know me. I am super transparent. Listen, this is just who I am. I believe that God healed me for a reason, and he's still healing me. I'm still going through my healing processes every single day. But I know that the things that I have overcome, God allowed me to overcome these things, because he's like, hey, listen, I know that you will be the transparent voice that I need out here. And I don't mind telling my story, telling my journey. Because I know that it helps make people better. So, I'll go back to my own particular infidelity, and when it first happened to me and how it made me feel. I remember it I can remember that moment just as clear as day, because I was heartbroken. I couldn't believe it. And, it goes to forgiveness. And that's what I talked about in my video today, how, we can put our trust in someone so much. And that's what we do with our spouses and with our partners in relationships. We trust them. We trust them with our hearts. We trust them to be faithful. We trust them to, not damage us, not break us, not hurt us. Like, we trust them for that, right? So when we're trusting them for that, and then something like this happens, it rips away all of that foundation of trust. So whatever trust that we had in them, it's completely gone. And it's something that has to be re-earned. It's something that we've got to work through. But you got to give me time. you got to give me time. You've got to allow me the opportunity to get there. You can't rush my process. You can't rush how long it takes me to get back to that place. You got to give me time. And you got to allow me to get to the place that I need to be. So I remember when I first experienced it, and like I said, it was heartbroken. I was heartbroken because, you guys know my story. So, at that time when it happened to me, I felt like, listen, I got all my trust in you, right? Like, come on. I got all my trust in you. Like, how could you ever do something like that to me? Like, I just couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to say. I was so angry. I was mad. I was hurt. I was embarrassed. Can we just talk about the embarrassment of it? Because nobody wants people to know that it's something that they've been through. Nobody wants people to know that this is something that happened to them. It's embarrassing. And we just try our very best to avoid it at all costs because we're not in that place. And so I remember when it happened, and I remember just crying out, and I remember just being really, really broken, really, really down. And all I wanted to do was just come out of that place. All I wanted to do was come out of that hole. But let me tell you what else it does. It'll trigger things on the inside of you, right? So it'll trigger those abandonment issues. It'll trigger those rejection issues. Like all of those things that may sit down on the inside of you that we're not quite healed from. Those things that sometimes we don't even know are there, or if we do know they're there, we're self-aware. We understand that we deal with it. We've kind of suppressed it. We've kind of buried it. We've kind of put it in the back pocket so nobody can see it. So it's like, hey, if I put it back there and I put it in the box and I put it up under the bed, nobody knows that it's there. So, we can kind of just ignore it. But when something like that happens to you, it triggers all those feelings that you've not dealt with. So all of those things that you've once gone through or that you've once experienced, it triggers it and it brings it all back to the surface for you. And that's what happened for me. I can remember all of those emotions of rejection and abandonment and just feeling unwanted and feeling like I just don't know where I belong or who I am. All of those things came back to the surface for me. And I knew that I understood that there is no way. So I can even remember my prayer, like, okay, God, really? Like, let me get to know what's happening in my life, because I've been through so many things in my childhood. Am I really going to go through in my adulthood? Like, God, when is enough enough? Like, when is enough enough? And I think I said this in one of my other podcasts where I was able to be just really transparent about it. And I'm like, okay, God, when is enough enough? I'm tired of going through. I'm tired of experiencing things. I'm tired of dealing with this and that and the third. When is enough enough? Like, and I remember God using that situation to really birth things in me, because it was like, when you go through a situation like that and you feel so low and you feel so down, you're at the bottom. Like you're already at the bottom. So you kind of hit the bottom of it. And so now it's like, okay, God, I'm at the bottom. I can't go anywhere but up from here. So God, I need your help. I need you to help me go up. I can't do this thing without you. And so I remember just finding myself in a place of God. And I think this is when my relationship with God really started to grow, because I'm like, okay, God, this thing gotta be bigger than me. It's gotta be bigger than me. There is no way that my whole life is going to be just suffering and feeling these feelings. Like, I need help. I need you. I really need help. So I can just remember all of those different feelings. I can just remember really going through, that thing and that place with God and just being like, okay, God, I can't do this thing without you. I need your help. And I began to really get at the feet of God and really listen to God and really allow God to heal me of those places, because it took God to heal me of those places in order for me to know that, hey, listen, allow nobody to put you in a place where I haven't put you. Allow nobody to put you in a box that I haven't put you. Let me Let me replenish you. Let me tell you who you are to me. Let me tell you who you are and what you possess. Let me tell you these things because I really, really need for you to get what you need to get. I really need you to be able to stand tall. I need you to be able to stand firm. I need you to be able to be confident in who you are and who I'm calling you to be so that you can know and so that you can understand that this is not about you, that it's bigger than you. And it's not a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of you not being good enough. You didn't deserve this. And so these are things that God had to do for me, guys. And listen, I'm just being honest. And I know that there may be people who listen to this podcast and you may not be plugged in, but I promise you to really get over it, to really get to the other side of it. This is what had to happen, because constantly in your mind, you'll keep reliving that thing. Constantly in your mind, you'll be reminded of it, even when you're trying to move on, when you're trying to move forward, when you're ready to forgive, you'll continue to be reminded of it. It'll continue to play. And that's when you got to bring the mind up under subjection. So I'm telling you, it's a spiritual thing. You got to get plugged in so that you'll really be able to go through it and get through it. What God is saying, you got to get plugged in. So I really had to get plugged in with God. I had to get plugged in with my place in him. I had to get plugged in. I had to get solace from him. God had to do something in me that only he could do. And the only way that I could get to the other side of it was allowing him to do that for me, allowing him to do what he did for me. That was the only way. And so you get to that place where you're able to say, okay, listen, I used to be and I'm still a firm believer, right? Listen, I'm still a firm believer. I'm still a firm believer, and we're not identified by the things that we do. We're not identified by the things of our past. So I would say, listen, infidelity was what he did. It's not who he is. And I would remind myself of that so that I would be able to move forward and I would be able to move on. Infidelity is not who he is. It's something that he did. It's something that he did that he, shouldn't have done, but it's not who he is. This is not how I'm going to identify him from going, moving forward, or identify him from today on, because you can't get peace like that. Okay. Cause it's more than just, okay, I'm ready to move on. Okay, I'm going to forgive him and I'm ready to move on. But like I say, you got to bring that mind up under subjection. You've got to have peace. You've got to have peace in order to properly move on. Because if you don't, you're always going to live in that moment. You're always going to live in that space. And even if you suppress it, because we're good at suppressing things, even if you suppress it for a minute, even if you put it in the back pocket for a minute, even if you put it in the box up under the bed for a minute, if you don't deal with it, it's always going to resurface. It's always going to represent itself. It's always going to come back. It's always going to find its way back. So it's so important that we deal in the moment. It's so important that we allow God to really do it. Allow God to heal us of that thing. Allow him to give us the things that we need so that we can move forward and that we're able to come to that place of forgiveness. Because listen, we got to forgive. And I talked about this on my podcast today. I talked about this on the TikTok video, where we have to forgive. And the power and the art of forgiveness, and how we have to be able to forgive people. Like, forgiveness is hard, right? Forgiving people can be hard. We all know that. We've all struggled with that at some point in our life. Forgiving people is hard, but we have to be able to forgive people that we do life with. We cannot continue to hold grudges or hold unforgiveness or not be able to effectively move on for people that we do life with. We just can't do that. We have to be able to move on. We've got to be able to move forward in that place of forgiveness, especially if we're doing life together. So you got to get to that place of forgiveness at some point, and don't get me wrong. There are some people who would be like, you know what? I'm walking away. I ain't got time for this because I'm better than this. And if you don't know, if you don't recognize what you got, then shame on you. And listen, I don't tell nobody to leave or stay because that's not my job. I don't tell you to leave. I don't tell you to stay. I'm not telling you what to do in your relationship. But one thing I am saying is you still got to forgive. Even if you choose to walk away, listen to me. Even if you choose to walk away, you still have to forgive. You've got to be able to forgive and move on to bring peace to yourself so that you don't leave angry. You leave angry, you take that anger with you, and every man that comes in behind the one who cheated is going to pay for it. And I say that because you're going to bring that baggage into that relationship. You're going to bring that insecurity, those insecurities into that relationship, that rejection that he made you feel. You're going to bring that into that next relationship. So it's not going to take much for you, sis. As soon as something looks off, you're going to be like, I've been here before. I ain't doing this before. And you're going to be weeding people out who may not even be in that space. We've got to get healed. We've got to get the healing for ourselves. We have to do this for us. Even though it happened to us, we've still got to get the healing for us. We've got to get the necessary healing that we need in order to be able to move on, in order to be able to move forward. Excuse me. Listen, no matter which way we decide to go, whether we decide to go with them and stay with them and forgive and move forward, or if we decide to leave, we still got to be able to forgive. So it's so important that we get to that place where we allow God to do it and we're able to forgive so that we can move on. Now, let me tell you, moving on doesn't mean that, okay, I forgive you. So now we can pick up and pick up and leave off where we were. And we're going to act like this thing never happened. Listen, guys, that is not how it works. We're not going to do that, okay? And if that is what you're doing, you're deceiving yourself, and don't do that to yourself because it's unfair. Take the time that you need in order to get to a better place. And if it requires some time and if they messed up, they've got to be willing to give you the time. If they're rushing you to, okay, I did it, I said I'm sorry, now you need to forgive me because we need to move on. You don't get to rush the process of something that you caused. You have to be patient in your space with me as I had to be patient in this space to get to a place where I can even forgive. So if they're rushing you, or if they're making you feel like that you don't deserve to be, you don't deserve to take the time that you need in order to get to a better place, that's a flag, sis. Listen, now, red flags ain't that ain't what I'm talking about tonight, but I just want you to be aware. It's necessary for them to allow you time and space to heal and to get to a place where you guys can move on collectively together. And if they're robbing you of that, then take a closer look. That's all I'm going to say. But it's so important that you take that time, and it's important that they are okay with you taking that time, that they are okay and being patient with you so that you can get to the place where you need to be, because it's not going to happen overnight. It is not going to happen overnight. And listen, if you are the cheater in that moment that causes the breakdown in the relationship, I want you to know you absolutely do need to do things to make the other person feel comfortable. Listen, if you was a cheater, let me just give this example and then I'm going to jump back on track. So if you're the cheater in the relationship and you're the one that broke the relationship down, and if she's saying to you, hey, listen, like your phone being on silent or all the time, or you taking calls only when I'm not around, if that makes me feel uncomfortable, like I really want you to, that makes me feel uncomfortable. You got to be okay with that. You have to be okay with, you know what? I understand that makes you uncomfortable. I respect that. Listen, I messed this thing up. And if you want it and you realize what you got, you're willing to do what it takes to get to the next level in it. It's more than just an I'm sorry. It's more than you saying I'm sorry and thinking that we're just moving on and we're going forward and we're going to act like it never happened. It's so much more than that. you have to make sure that you are now demonstrating what you're sorry for. You got to make sure that you're demonstrating the person that you need to be in this relationship, showing up with patience, showing up with kindness, showing up with love. If gift bearing is your thing, bear your gifts. But I want you to know that you cannot rush her. You can't rush the person that you hurt. You've got to allow them the time to get to the place where they need to be, so that they'll be able to do it effectively. So that's how we move on. That's how we get to the next place. That's how we get to the next level. And constantly working towards being better together, right? So I always say in relationships, I think one thing that we really do forget sometimes is we do live in a fairy tale. We live on the outside of reality. I think I say that a lot. We live on the outside of reality in a lot of relationships, right? Proper communication, just showing up for each other, just learning how to communicate, but also learning how to fight, learning how to love. Like all of these things are required in relationship. Because we need to, like they always say, see people in all four seasons, but we need to be able to demonstrate these seasons in our relationships. And there'll be times when we're not always going to agree, but we need to know that we're always on the same team. So one thing that I always say, and this is what I did when I went through it, and every person is different, but I really started to focus on me. In relationships, a lot of times we focus so much on what he's doing, what she's doing, like, okay, let me do this so this relationship would be better. Let me do that so the relationship would be better. No, let's focus on ourselves. And it's not in a selfish manner. Let me make that very clear, because in marriage or relationship, you can't be selfish. So if you're in a marriage and you're in a relationship and you're selfish, you're not supposed to be there, okay? Because selfishness does not go in marriage and it does not go in relationship. I just want to make that very clear. So me saying focus on you and focus on being a better you is definitely not a reflection of you becoming selfish in your relationship. That's a play of saying, hey, I want to bring my very best self to this relationship. So let me do some work that brings my very best self. Now, of course, I advise to get this work done before, right? Of course, we go into relationships so broken and so messed up that a lot of times we have to do all of this in the midst of the relationships because we didn't take the time to do it before, especially if you get out of a relationship and you get into another relationship before you have time to really heal. And if you're not in the relationship with the right person, all of these things come out. And if you guys are not able to handle it from each other, and if he's not chosen for you and you ain't chosen for him, then it makes it difficult for you to go through these things together. But you gotta know that things come out. So the reality is we gotta show up the very best versions of ourselves. So we gotta come and we gotta be the very best versions of ourselves. That's what we gotta do. And so in order for us to do that, in order for us to show up and be the very best versions of ourselves, we have to do some self-work. We've got to work on ourselves. We've got to focus on being a better us, right? We got to focus on that. And that is so important. And I know that this is something that I did even going through. A lot of people don't always go to counseling for infidelity, but listen, if you've got things in your marriage and infidelity is one, I would advise counseling. Go see somebody, go talk to somebody, go allow these things to be said out loud and to be heard by someone that is unbiased, that can say, hey, listen, this is what I'm hearing. And this is where it is. You know, a lot of times we get so prideful. I was talking to a couple maybe one day last week or so, and they were like, yeah, we've been going to marriage counseling since we got married. And she was like, but we don't have problems, we don't have issues, like we just feel like we just want to make sure that we never have issues. And I said, hey, listen, I applaud you, because a lot of times people take marriage counseling as something that you get just when you are like about to kill each other and wring each other's necks. And it's late in the game. Now, I'm not saying that it ain't going to work, but I'm saying it's late in the game. There are things that you need to know about each other that sometimes you ain't getting out of each other when you're going at each other, when you're talking at each other and not talking to each other, when you're responding, or you're listening to respond and you're not listening to understand. You're not listening to comprehend. You're not listening to the heart of your spouse or of your partner. You're just wanting to make sure that your point gets made because this is where you feel, this is what you feel, and this is the part that you sit in it. And I heard what you said, but now you got to hear what I say. Listen, when we show up that way, we're not properly communicating with each other, and we're not getting anywhere like that. So marriage counseling is not a bad thing, and individual counseling isn't either. I remember, and I'm just all over the place with this story a little bit, but I remember when I went through my infidelity and we went to counseling, and I remember we going to counseling and we went to a counselor, and he was like, yeah, no, I don't really like him because I feel like they on your side. Men always feel like the counselor is on the side of right when they on the side of right, but they don't want to admit that they on the side of wrong. Okay, listen. So we left that counselor and went to another counselor and got in there, and it was the same thing. I don't know. Like, I just feel like everybody just like taking your side, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep going even if you don't. And that's exactly what happened. I kept going to counseling. I kept showing up for these sessions, and I began to do some work for me, which was able to help me on the inside. Because a lot of times this is what we have to really think about when we're in an infidelity situation. Did we ever show them that we don't deserve to be valued? Did we ever present ourselves as not being good enough? Did we ever show up as if this is something that we're willing to accept? Did we ever give them permission that we don't have to be priority and number one? That we're open to whatever. Like, we have to really think about these things. We have to really think about these things because, like, in every situation, I feel like people do what we allow them to do. People not just do what we allow them to do. They show up the way we allow them to show up. They love us the way we allow them to love us. They treat us the way we allow them to treat us. That's why I'm a firm believer in we teach people how to treat us. We teach people how to love us. We teach people how to do these things. Because if we don't show them exactly what it is that they've gotten within us, then they start to treat us like we are just assets instead of the value that we really possess. And so we really have to ask ourselves these things when we're going through these situations, you know, and don't get me wrong. Listen, there are people, and I am a believer that at some point, you know, because my first infidelity situation, okay, because I had a few of them in my, I had a few infidelity issues in my union. But from the very first one, I can remember when we got over that thing and when we both got to a place where we were able to be aware, be self-aware of what happened, admit the faults, and forgive on both ends. Once we got to that place, we were able to really do life together at a point, you know, where things were getting better. But let me just tell you that the more that you grow, the more that you start to becoming who you are, the more that you start to really walk in your place. If you are with someone who is not connected to your destiny, this is what happens. And I know for the ones who are just listening and you can't see, I ain't doing nothing but pulling my fingers apart because there's a separation. There's a separation that starts to happen that you can't explain. You cannot explain it. And this is why it's so important to know who we are when we go into marriages, because when we know who we are, then we don't go into marriages. We're all going to grow. Yes. But when we go into marriages and we're whole, he's whole, you're whole, and we're bringing our whole selves to make one whole in this marriage, and we're growing together and we're aligning together, then what we're doing is going together. But if I come into this marriage broken and I'm just a lost person who doesn't know who I am, and when God starts to download things into me, and when God starts to really boost my confidence and tell me who I am in him, and when he starts to raise me to the levels in which he's calling me, if you're in a house that's too small, the roof is going to come down on your head. If you're with someone who can't see you past where you are when they met you, then it's going to come down on you. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That's probably another podcast for another day, but I want you to know that it happens, okay? It definitely happens. But moving on, when we get to that place, you can do life with somebody and it can be better than it was before infidelity. Life after infidelity can be better than life before, because you finally get to a place where whatever it was that caused them to step out, you get to have these necessary conversations that you probably couldn't have. It opens you up to be a little bit more transparent. It opens you up to be able to have a conversation on a different level. It opens you up to the new possibilities of ways to communicate with your spouse so that you're always trying to prevent it from happening again. Like, listen, these are things that he said. These are things that she said. We're constantly working towards being great together so we don't have to keep experiencing things like this anymore. So listen, life after infidelity is possible and it can be better, but you've got to know every situation is different, and you've got to know the particular situation that you're in. Okay. And you've got to make sure that you're not giving anyone permission to keep mistreating you, that you're not giving anyone permission to keep walking over you. Listen, self-worth and self-value is everything. Do y'all hear me? It is everything. It is imperative that we know exactly who we are when we show up in these relationships so we can know the things that we're going to accept and the things that we're not. We've got to know that. We've got to know who we are so that we can know that. And we go into situations and we got to make sure that we're like, hey, listen, this is non-tolerable. I know a lot of relationships do them now. I know on dates. So when you're dating, it's always a question that comes up. I think I played a game one time with, some people. We did like a relationship game, and it was like one of the relationship questions. So I hear this thing all the time, constantly coming up about deal breakers, right? And so it's like, what are your deal breakers? What are some things that are like an automatic? So my advice to you, if you know that you don't want to ever be cheated on, you make it an automatic deal breaker. So if they test the waters to see, oh, she said it's a deal breaker, I'm about to see if it's a real deal breaker, sis, you better be ready to walk when the time comes to walk, okay? Because listen, people need to know exactly what the expectations are in relationships. They need to know what the expectations are. What are the expectations in the relationship? What are the expectations that you're setting? What are the boundaries that you're setting? So we've got to make sure that in these relationships, this is what's happening. This is what's showing up. So when things like this happen, you can reevaluate. Okay, let me think about the conversation that we had before we got into this, because I know I told him that infidelity was a deal breaker for me. I know I told him that. So let me reevaluate. That's what we got to do. We have to reevaluate. Listen, every situation, every infidelity situation does not deserve to be walked away from. I am a firm believer because I've stayed. I know that it's not. But I also don't believe that every infidelity situation is a forgive and pat on the back either. There are some situations where you may have to walk away. And you've got to be okay with that. You've got to be okay with that next step, with that next level, if that is what is required of you in this particular situation. You got to be okay with that. And I say that because depending on the situation, some people can cheat one time and they can get it and they can really realize what they almost lost and get it together instantly and be like, you know what? I'm never going to chance it again. I never want to make her feel devalued, or I never want to make her feel not good enough, or, rejected, or non-beautiful. I don't think I said that earlier, but, if there is a low self-esteem issue already there, then you'll equate it with, I'm not beautiful, or, maybe I'm not pretty enough. Maybe I'm not light enough. Maybe my hair isn't long enough. Maybe my body isn't thin enough. Like, you'll start equating it with different things, and you're finding all of the flaws or things that you feel is wrong with you. You're finding all the things that you feel is wrong with you, and you're equating it to, this is why he did what he did. So if there is a self-esteem issue there, then, that's something else that will be triggered in those emotions that I was talking about when I said rejection and I said abandonment. Self-esteem is another one. If it's low, then that's going to be another trigger for you. But you've got to make sure that, in the situation, that you're really evaluating where you are. And if it's happening repeatedly, like if it's, something that's continual, something that's happening, we understand that it's not about us, but how long do we stay in a situation and let someone devalue us as well? And I talked about this in my settle video. I think that was my very first video that I posted, actually. And I talked about it in my settle video. We all stay and settle into situations for different reasons. And sometimes when it comes to infidelity, and I can speak from this because I've been here, I was in a situation where infidelity came up on more than one occasion for me. And when you go back and you really think about the things that you're experiencing, you think about the things of why you stay. Why do you allow somebody to do that? Why do you not think that you're worthy enough or that you're good enough for somebody to be faithful to you and treat you the way that you need to be treated? And a lot of times it equates to loneliness. A lot of times it equates to not wanting to be by yourself. And listen, men are slick. And I'm not just saying men, because some women do cheat. And for the women who cheat, y'all know we can talk. Y'all know we good with the words. Okay? We good with the words. But let me just tell you how some of the men are good with the words too. And they'll be so good with the words that they will, they'll tell you all of the things that they feel that you want to hear or that you need to hear in order for you to forgive them and move forward. It ain't a man that's sorrier when he gets caught cheating. And I always say, are you sorry that you got caught? Or are you sorry for the actual act? Because it's a little confusing. If you wouldn't have gotten caught, would you have kept cheating? And would I have ever known? Would you have ever confessed and been like, hey, I've been doing this behind your back and I'm so sorry, I feel horrible about it? Or is it the fact that you got caught and now you're put on display and it's like, okay, I've gotten caught, I'm put on display, I'm so sorry. Listen, it ain't a sorrier man than one that gets caught. But can I just tell you that even in that moment of when they're telling you all of the things that they feel that you want to hear, all of the things that they know that they need to say to you in order for you to say, I forgive you. Okay, I'm not going to leave you. We're going to move on. We're going to move forward. Listen, you got to discern it. You've got to make sure that they're not just saying it because they want to stay in this space. The motive behind it. I just had this conversation today. It's so funny that I get to bring this back up again. But you got to know the motive behind it. You got to know the motive behind it. Are they just saying it and doing it? Because listen, they'll do all of the right things. They'll say all of the right things. They'll be good in that moment. And then a lot of times we'll forgive them and we'll take them back and we'll believe the things that they said. And I'm saying we because I've been there, I've done it. And they become the same person that they were because they didn't never do anything to work on them or to be better or to change. We did self-work, but sometimes we can be so caught up in not wanting to be alone, not wanting to be by ourselves. I want to thug it out. Y'all know that's my thing. We're thugging this thing out. I'm going to thug this out. Or like, I want to fight for my relationship because I love him or I love her. And I just believe that we are destined to be together. Can I just tell you that if you are destined to be with him or if you are destined to be with her and they're mistreating you that way, you walk away. They should come right back. Like literally, they should get it. It should be instant. They should get it because if anybody values you that much, they're never going to do anything to mishandle your heart. They're never going to do anything to make you feel or to make you ever look at them differently. They're never going to do anything that can jeopardize you being a part of their lives because they realize that you're not an asset. You're a value. You're a value to my life. I don't know what I would do without you being a part of my life because you bring so much and you add so much. And I'm going to close with, that's why it's important for us to know who we are, because when we know who we are and we know exactly what we bring, we know what our value is, then we're able to walk away from situations that don't mean us no good. We're able to walk away from situations because there do come times when you got to walk away. And you got to walk away with confidence, not you can't walk away like, I wasn't good enough for him, or, this is what happened, and you still feel low. You can't walk away like that. You got to walk away like, you know what? I gave everything that I had, and it was too much because he didn't know how to handle it. She didn't know how to handle it. They didn't realize my value. And I can't be in a relationship with someone who doesn't realize my value, because if I am, then they mishandle it. They'll mishandle what they don't. Listen, it's like bringing someone, we all know diamonds is a girl best friend. So you think about diamonds and you think about a diamond and somebody bringing a diamond and someone, they don't know the value. So you put these diamonds in the hand and they looking at it like, I don't even know if these real or not. One roll on the floor goes to the left. One roll on the floor goes to the right. I'm going to go get them a praise so I can see if they real before I do anything, because these might not even be real. I ain't about to listen. And so they don't realize the value of what's in their hand. And so they mishandle it. They mishandle it because they don't realize its value. Don't allow anyone to mishandle you because they don't realize your value. Don't allow anybody to do that. I'm gonna have to do a TikTok video on that one. Let me write that down because I don't want to lose that one. Don't allow anyone to mishandle you because they don't know your value. You've got to make sure that you know your value. If nobody else knows your value, you've got to make sure that you know your value. So when it's time for you to stand up and be bold and walk away, you're able to do that. You are able to do that, and you're able to do it confidently, knowing and trusting and believing that the right person is going to come along. The right person is going to love you the correct way. The right person is going to handle your heart the correct way. I'm always talking about my purpose partner, my husband. I'm always talking about this man who's on his way to me. And I'm always talking about how he's going to handle me right, how he's going to handle my heart, how he's going to know how to handle me. Not because of anything that I'm telling him, but because he's going to take his instructions straight from God. Like, he's got to go to God to get to me, because that's where he's going to find me. And if he goes to God to get me, that's where he's going to find me. And God is going to give him the proper instruction so that he knows exactly how to handle me. And he knows how to care for me. And he knows how to care for my heart. Listen, I know that it sounds far-fetched sometimes when we're in situations that don't mean us good, when we're in situations that hurt, that they're painful, and we're always looking at it like love is so painful, it hurts so much. But the pain that you feel may not be the pain that's required in love. It's not supposed to make you feel less than. It's not supposed to make you feel like you're not valued or like you're not enough. Love, the pain of love can be from the vulnerability that we have to have, the openness that we've got to open ourselves up enough to trust somebody with our heart. We've got to open up ourselves and be vulnerable enough to tell somebody where we struggle and where we're weak and where we lack sometimes, and allow them to be able to come in and do it. That's where it can be painful, because opening up yourself to somebody and not knowing if it's right, that can hurt. But anything else in love that makes you feel less than, that makes you feel not good enough, that makes you feel unvalued or devalued, it doesn't have to feel that way. It doesn't have to feel that way at all. So don't allow something to be far-fetched from you because you feel like what you're going through right now, you can't see that. You can't envision that. I need you to envision, like, God, you love me enough that you'll send somebody here on this earth who will love me correctly. You created me because he's our creator. So you created me. So because you created me, you know exactly the way I need to be loved. You know the things that are on the inside of me that may need a little bit more attention. Because sometimes it's never the things on the outside, but the things that's on the inside. And so only a person who's really into you, only a person who's really into your heart, only a person who really desires you and wants to love you and wants to get to know you on the level to handle you will even care about the things that's on the inside. Don't allow nobody to come to you and tell you that you're perfect. Don't allow nobody to come to you and tell you that you don't need. I've heard people say, you don't really need a man for anything. Yeah, because you're looking at me from the outside in. You're looking at me from the outside in. Don't be intimidated or threatened because I take care of myself. But there are still things that I desire that you won't know just looking at me. So I don't want you to see me. I want you to see me. I don't want you to feel that it's far-fetched because the situation that you're in, it doesn't bring that right now. I want you to still be able to envision having the person who will really care for you, who will really care for your heart, who will really know how to handle you, who will really love you according to the way that you were designed to be loved. It's not far-fetched. Guys, listen, I love you guys for real. I want you guys to know, like I said, I've gotten this particular question about infidelity, and I've helped a few people, through infidelity situations who I'm happy to say are still thriving, are still doing what they need to do, are still showing up in their marriages. People who have literally been through it and they realized the value and were able to correct it, fix the problem, and go forth. And if that is your situation, I hope that you guys can listen to this podcast. I hope that you can get the things that you need. And I hope that you guys continue to win, because I love to see marriages winning. I love to see marriages thriving. I want to see marriages do better in this particular season. Listen, 2023 and beyond, I want marriages to be showing up the way that they need to be showing up. We are representing Christ the way that we need to be representing the relationship between Christ and the church. We want to make sure that, we're showing up and we're really demonstrating what it's like, because we're going to bring the divorce rates down. We're going to make sure that these divorce rates take a backseat. Listen, we're going to put these away. We're done with these divorces. We're not going to keep doing that. So I want you guys to know that if you find yourself in this podcast and you find yourself feeling devalued and you find yourself in that place where you're like, I don't know if this thing is serving me any good. I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. Then you self-evaluate and you go back and you reevaluate your situation, reassess your situation, and you do what you need to do to feel whole. You do what you need to do to make sure that you are showing up and you're able to be the very best version of you. And I'm going to close with this, because sometimes we find ourselves in situations and we're not able to be We're not able to be the very best version of us. We're not able to bring the very best version of us in the situation because there is no space for us to do that. The other person hasn't allotted the space. They haven't allotted the safety. They haven't allotted the comfort for us to show up as our very best self. So you self-evaluate and you reevaluate, reassess the situation and see if you are able to show up as your very best self. So you'll know exactly what you need to do. Guys, I love you for real. Thank you so much again for tuning into the He's Worth the Wait podcast. You guys can't really see my shirt, but I'm rocking my merch tonight. He's worth the wait. And I'm going to have these shirts on my website. So my website is www.iamsharentillman.com. That's www.iamsharentillman.com. So if you want to order merch with He's Worth the Wait on it, then you can go to my website and all of that will be there. I love you guys for real. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I cannot wait to check in with you guys really soon. Have an amazing day.